Good afternoon. I wonder if my presentation can be put up. Got a bit of a surprise. I'm not going to be speaking too much from this stage. I'm going to be a friend of the people. I'm going to be on the floor with you all, because the real masters, the real experts, the real property practitioners are the ones who are going to be presenting in succession today. And I want to honor them, and I want to give them as much airtime as possible. I've briefed all three of them, Gopal, Jayan, and Rajendra, with the same almost instruction. Gentlemen, I said, whatever's in your brain needs to get out onto the floor. I'm going to be on the floor, moderating, asking probing questions, listening for audience interaction, and involving you as much as possible in the consummate learnings that is represented here today. I am very, very sure that you will agree that since 2000, India's real estate and shopping center profession and professionalism has grown incredibly, and you are all part of that. And I was given this little clicker device. I shall pass this like a baton onto each successive speaker. When I was given this device, I made the point that maybe this is change the world button. And for those of you who are Star Trek fans, you will remember that if you were given this button, you have to use it with great responsibility. I'm going to make sure that the first thing I'm going to say to you is that you need to understand the housekeeping and house rules. Bathrooms are out on the left around the corner. They're very comfortable. The refreshments are sitting here, and if you wanted some more, there's a tea break coming up at about 5:30, 5:45. And probably the most important learning out of all of this is that you have to please ask. You have to put up your hands and you have to ask so that your question, your point is heard. I also made the point that if anybody wants to eat, they're more than welcome to do so, but they must make sure that they offer me. I would be very happy with that. Today is a very special day because we are honoring the present and the past by reflecting in some way on our joint future. If we do not look at what lessons we have learned, and if we do not consider what our past has meant, then we really are not able to plan for what is required in the next 10, 20 years. And we've got three outstanding experts. I'd like to thank Gopal, Jayan, and Rajendra for agreeing to be on this MasterClass, and most importantly for sharing their views and making themselves available to your questions. I'm always reminded about my industry, the industry I've had the privilege of being involved in and being of service to for, 35, 40 years. The late Lord Donny Gordon was a great South African, and he went on to make a second fortune in England when he started Liberty International. And he said that retailers will always adapt to changing circumstances. Our job as property owners, our job as center managers, our job as shopping center professionals is to ensure that the optimum environment exists for them to do so. How's that for a job description for us all, ladies and gentlemen? Real, neat, sweet, and succinct. And it sets the scene for my little presentation. I'm billed to speak about asset management and property management. But somehow, when I looked at the topic, I took a different view. I remembered that in actual fact, we're all here about the customer and the retailer and about our investors. And I looked at issues revolving around risk, which is a consummate problem for asset managers and for owners, And I looked at that consummate tripartite question. What do we do with this asset? Do we buy it? Do we fix it? Do we sell it? What do we do with it? And then I looked at the pantheon of the art of real estate asset management, in which property management and facilities management and marketing sits. And I decided that I would stick with this one slide, something I'm very passionate about. And that is that asset management has its forte and it has its place, and property management, likewise, does too. But most importantly, there is a melding, there is a continuum of the engagement between asset and property and the management of the property for the benefit of the customer and the retailers who don't really care how it's actually done. They just want to make sure that when they go to your shopping centers, they get the best toilets, the best parking experiences, they get the best retail, customer-centric experience that they can possibly have. And I'd like to say that having had a little bit to do with retail and retailing here in this wonderful country, that in actual fact I think India leads the world in the customer centricity and the manner in which customers are presented, the manner in which shopping centers are presented to their customers. I think that today, if we are going to contemplate and consider the future, we have to look at the strategic, the tactical, and the operational. And we've got to understand that this is a continuum. This is not finite boxes, as university business schools would have us understand. That in actual fact, when you're a property manager or an asset manager or you're involved in facilities management, you're actually doing much of the same thing. You're making sure that the asset is properly represented to the people who use it. And yes, you can manage what we measure, and we can measure what we manage. But I think that this kind of sums up my 1 hour and 15 minutes into just about 10 minutes. How you manage and how you look after your asset today affects its value tomorrow. If ever there was a profound statement about asset management, this has to be it. And finally, Stuart Ruff, at the first MAPIC conference here many, many years ago, said that people are attracted to places that offer great experiences, choices, and distinctiveness. And I've used this quote, with his permission, many, many times. And the asset managers nod, the property managers celebrate. Because here is a person who creates the built environment for us to enjoy, and who would understand it the most? The customer. So we hear about the customer, and if we're looking towards the future, we've got to look at how the customer relates to our built environment. We've got to look at how our built environment can consistently grow, and how our built environment can consistently enjoy customers' involvement. Many, many years ago, I worked for a company in South Africa called Sanlam, the second largest insurance company, and Barnes van der Walt was the CEO of Sanlam Property Asset Management, and he wanted to know why I felt so passionately about this and about this. And I said to him that it's real simple. Shopping centers, unlike shopping bags, are immovable. You can't move them. They are there. They are stuck on the landscape. And this is a profound thought, I guess, that unlike the shopping bags, which can move about with all the customers moving in and out and going home and coming back, your shopping center stays where it is. So we're going to have to make sure that our shopping centers remain relevant and they remain absolutely attractive to the changing environment and catchment in and around these shopping centers. Today, we've got 3 spectacular speakers for you. And I thought that it was an act of almost genius when Mr. Roy said to me he wanted to introduce Gopal into this mix, because now is the time, I think, that we should consider the people behind the running of these shopping centers and how we incentivize them and how we encourage them to participate more actively in the management process, whether it be an asset or a property management perspective. Immediately following Gopal will be Jayan Naik, a man who I have known for a long, long, long time. We first met in Ahmedabad and Amritsar when I had the wonderful distinction and opportunity and privilege of evaluating his shopping center for Nexus. And I was always struck about how he and his team understood real estate and retail to his fingertips. And it's a pleasure and an honor to share the same stage with you, sir. And likewise with Rajendra, a man who heads up the Chief Operating Officer for Phoenix Malls and a Director of Phoenix Mills. I've been practicing that. I didn't want to get it confused. And I think that the learnings from today are going to be profound because we're projecting into the future. This is the future button. Stop this world, press the green button, and change for a new world. And I'm thinking that we're not going to be disappointed. I'd like to call Gopal to begin your presentation. The way this is going to work, ladies and gentlemen, come. The way this is going to work is that I'm the moderator, and I'm going to operate from the floor. I'm the timekeeper as well. I'm also responsible for making sure that you are all engaged. You've paid a lot of money, you've come from a lot of parts of India. There's no reason why you should just sit. You must engage. You've got questions, you've got observations. I'd like you to raise your hand. We'll agree what your question is, and you'll ask the question of the appropriate presenter. And it's also my job to heckle the presenters, to hone them, to finesse their argument, so that we, from an asset and from a property management point of view, are understanding that we are looking at things from a future point of view. Okay with you? Let's go. Over to you, sir. I'm handing over the clicker.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good afternoon and namaste, all of you. I am Gopal Machani. I am from MGB Felicity Mall, Nellore. I am from a family business background, so I am the third generation in the business. I have 18 years of work experience and 7.5 years of mall experience. So my mall is close to 7.5 years old. So incentives, most of you know what's incentives, and you have your own share of experience in designing an incentive plan and other things. So what I'm trying to do today is, I'm not giving you a narrow view of the incentives. Like, I'm not sharing what we have done in the MGB Felicity Mall, Nellore. So we are operating in a tier 3 location. So I'm not sharing what kind of incentive plans we have rolled out and what kind of performance output the plans have given, because it will be narrow. So as I understand, I've met Mr. Jonathan and all of you. So after my 45-minute presentation, the first question would be, Gopal, is a tier 3 incentive plan relevant to the metro planning? So does it work? The tier 3 incentives, do they work in the metro city? And maybe the second question is, what is the competition in your town? So I'm operating in a monopoly market, right? So, even that's not generalizable. So it becomes irrelevant. So I'm trying to give a broad view on the incentives. So what I have done is, I've looked into the top research papers, and most of them with experiments, field interventions, and surveys. So because these are the top tier papers with a lot of citations, you have a very good data in the papers because they go through a lot of scrutiny. So what I've tried to do is, so I'm getting the research, we're looking at the research, and because I have a 7.5 year experience in the shopping mall business, so we try to get research and practice together, and then try to propose a plan. So you can't design an ultimate plan, you know, right? It depends on the business environment, it depends on the competition, it depends on the portfolio of the mall. Are you a luxury mall, or are you a mass market mall? It depends on your catchment. So you can't design a single plan for all of you. So I'm trying to give you a broad view on that. Okay, let's start the presentation.
Gopal,
Yeah.
am I correct in saying that you're about to receive your PhD in this subject?
Yes, I am in my final year, 5th year, in the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. And my dissertation is on incentives. So I'm working on incentives for the last 3.5 years. Incentives and price delegation.
So that this makes you an expert.
Hopefully.
All right.
It's an ocean, so I don't know. Yeah. So we'll start the presentation. So this is the flow of the presentation. And let's look. So compensation has incentive in that. So why we design a compensation is to motivate the employees to retain and improve their performance. So all these things, you know, the first 4 or 5 slides you guys know, but we'll just have a recap. And then the next most important thing, how we design the compensation is to align the objectives of the firm with the employees. So your objective, for example, for your marketing team, might be the revenue last year is 100 lakhs. So you want to go to 150 lakhs this year. So that's your objective. So you make use of the compensation to, you know, align your objective with the employees. And then the next most important thing is, what is the ratio between the fixed and the variable compensation you have to pay to motivate them? And then another very important thing is, how can you get the desired behavior outcome from your employees? So you can't just pay them for the performance. So we have to motivate them, we have to retain them, and then we have to enhance their performance. We have to ensure they are aligned with our objectives, and we have to ensure they give the desired behavior outcome what the top management is expecting. So that's one of the reasons why we design compensations. And in this process, there is a ratio between the fixed and the variable compensation. So fixed is basically, I'll speak in the next slide, is basically the salary and other things. The variable is the incentives and other parts. So this is the fixed is salary, and the variable, there are a lot of variable compensations available. I've just put the famous ones here. Even stock options is one of the variable compensation, but we're not talking about how to incentivize the top management. We're looking at middle and higher, somewhere around the middle management. That's why we have designed this. And then this is also important, right? So we need to understand what is conditional and unconditional. So for example, commission can be unconditional, like you see in the real estate business. So what happens, you just sell a villa or a flat or an open plot. For one plot, you get a commission. So that can be unconditional. There is no condition for that. And then, so the importance of incentives is basically the compensation as monetary and non-monetary part. So non-monetary is the training, and then the recognition, and then the rewards, maybe the knowledge share you give, and then maybe the pride they feel working for you. These are all the non-monetary part of them. And then why is it important? So if you see now, top 500 companies, they're paying 1.8 lakh crores in compensations in India. So that is the ever highest, and it has increased like anything from the past in the 2022. And the funny part is the compensation has grown like never before, and the attrition has grown like never before. So you're paying high, and still you're losing the employees. So there's something wrong, right? Okay, you can relate to COVID, but still, yeah. The types of compensations, I've just given this here. And then let's see what McKinsey has told in one of its research. It says 50 million of incentives can generate 1 billion in recurring revenue. So they strongly say incentives give back a lot. And you all know, because the incentives are distributed after the performance is achieved. You set a target, they reach the target, and then you pay. First, the firm is rewarded, and then the employee is rewarded. It's a win-win for both of them. So we've done a survey on how malls are paying. I wish I had a greater sample size. I don't know, with so many surveys floating around, but we have a decent size. So we looked at what type of incentives the malls pay to which department. So we've done the survey. So for the marketing department, 50% of them pay on the process-based. So these are overlapping, okay? So you don't just count the numbers, 50 plus 15 plus 15 plus 30 is 110% of the malls are paying. No, it's overlapping. So 50% of them are paying on process-based incentives, 15% on target, 15% commission, 30% per overachievement. This is a broad way how the malls are paying right now. 85% of the malls are paying incentives for the marketing staff. This is about the marketing staff, any marketing staff, so most of you are getting paid incentives. So the leasing is 65% are paid on the commissions, 25% is paid on the value add. So value add is like maybe you reduce the cost or you increase the revenue. So you know what is value add. So there are a lot of value add areas in the mall. And then 65% of the malls pay incentives for the leasing staff. And then for the housekeeping, 35% on the process based, 15% on the audit base. 35% of the malls pay incentive for the housekeeping staff. Security is the same, 35-15, 35% of the mall pay incentives to the security and crisis. Admin, billing and accounts, so 35-15, 50% of the mall pays incentives. Parking is, again, you can just see, 50% of the mall pay incentives for the parking staff. So engineering is 15-15 and 35% of the mall pays for the engineering team. And when we look at the survey, I'm just giving my thoughts out. So it's a no-brainer. The revenue generators are getting paid, when you compare to the, so for example, marketing staff, 85% of the malls are paying to the marketing staff, 35% are paying to the security. So whoever is the revenue generator is getting paid. Whoever is the non-revenue generator is not getting paid. I think we should change that. We will discuss that as we go. Everyone should be paid incentive, according to me. Okay, sorry. So this is the frequency. 35% are paying monthly, 15% are paying quarterly, 35% are paying annually. The special incentives, I think a lot of malls are fond of special incentives. So 85% of them are paying special incentives. Maybe I think this should be the yearly bonus kind of a thing they're paying. So the salary to incentive ratio, if you see, 65% of them fall between 0 to 75. That means if they're paying 10K salary, the incentive is between 0 to 2.5K. And 15% of the malls, the incentive is between 20 to 50%. So if I have to share my thoughts on this, non-revenue generating staff, if they are in between 25 to 50, it's good ratio. But again, I can't generalize it. It depends on various parameters. But in general, on the broader view, I'm sharing this. And then the revenue generators, anywhere between 50 to 100% of the salary. It's a good ratio to pay. So we're looking at designing a long-term incentive plan. There's a small video after this. You can see that. So how we design a long-term incentive plan.
एक तेरा, एक मेरा, दो तेरा, दो मेरा, तीन तेरा, तीन मेरा, 50-50, बराबर है, everything okay?
Okay.
Happy?
Very happy.
No cheating?
No cheating.
भाई अगर cheating लगता है तो calculator ये calculate कर ले भाई.
नहीं, you are great.
So I hope that's not happening. So we define the objective, and then we set measurable targets. Then we determine the incentives, breaking team target into individual target, clear and specific rewards. So if we don't have clear and specific rewards, you see a lot of Akshay Kumars in your mall, the manager taking the bigger pie. And then the transparency and well-defined, considering all scenarios. For example, let us assume marketing team is eligible for the incentive. and you have a overall mall revenue target. Let's take in the month of the November, which is a lean month for us. So mall doesn't reach the revenue target, and the marketing guys reach the targets, then you say, I don't want to pay you because mall has not made money. So we should be clear in all the scenarios. And then, so there are numerous ways you can pay the compensation. So it depends, as I said, depends on your market, depends on your environment, business environment. And then we can pay incentives in many forms, on the revenue, on the CSI. So you decide where to pay the incentives, which area you want to enhance through the incentives. So now I have told you a lot of positives about the incentives. So let's look at a monograph. So what the Harvard has done. Let's look at a monograph of what Harvard has given. So for example, what they say is paying incentives undermine the very process they are intended to do. And then the research suggests, by and large, rewards succeed at securing one thing, temporary compliance. So then what it says is it is strikingly ineffective to change the attitudes and behavior through the rewards. Then it says once the rewards run out, people revert back to their old behavior. So it's like Google, no? So we can type users of phone. It gives all the users of the phone. You can say danger of the phone. It gives you all the dangers of the phone. So it's like we're looking at what the research has to say, the positive side, and we're looking at what the research is telling on the negative side of the incentives. So I will stitch this in the end, okay? We'll see how we bridge the gap between the positive and negative in this session. Yeah, it's okay, the same. So I have proposed a compensation plan for the marketing team. So it's like you can choose what you want, you can delete what you want. It's just a proposal, like how you can design an incentive plan. Yes, so fixed salary. In the next slide, we just look into why we pay what. So fixed salary quota bonus is target linked. So overachievement is when they achieve over the quota. Then process-based incentives is very important. Audit-based, you can pay. Digital process-based. So a lot of you, maybe you are spending a lot of money on digital transformation of your mall. Maybe you will be working with the consultants also. So it's better you bring it in the incentive so that it's digitized as possible. Then the last one is, I will spend some time on the cumulative commission paid on value with price delegation. I will discuss that. Then the value add incentives. So just a quick look at what happens when you do what. So fixed salary, it's secure and stable. So useful in retaining manpower under uncertain conditions when alternate jobs are high. That's what the research says, and I think that's what is true, most of you know. So you have to decide when there's a lot of job opportunities for your employees, so you increase your salary ratio in the compensation. So that that's the key to retain. Then quota bonus is target linked. So it is used under stable conditions where you know that they can reach the target, where there is a business, continuous business in front of you. Then commission is paid when you need high motivation. It's expensive for the company, but the monitoring and supervision costs come down. So when you pay commissions, it's like they are on their own. You don't have to monitor them a lot. Process-based incentive, as I said, is important. This is the only way you can, you can get the desired behavior outcome from your employee. So it's through the process-based. Overachievement, I'm not dwelling on all these things. So what is price delegation and why? So my research is on this. I've been working on this for the last 3.5 years. So I thought I'll show you a little bit of that and how it is useful. So first, let's talk about delegation. You know, what is, yes?
I invite the audience to consider what has been said so far. Does everybody agree with Gopal's assessment on the importance of incentives and incentivization? Does anybody have an alternative view? Well, I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, sure.
And my question is, to what extent are you suggesting that we in the audience use data in respect to the setting of realistic incentives and commissions?
So the use of data?
Yes.
Yes, so that's what, see, revenue data is there, so it's not very difficult. So the challenge is to collect data which you are not collecting already. Like the customer is using the washroom, and then a lot of times you just have a small pop-up machine. You just press the smiley face, right? So your janitor goes and presses all the smileys there. So we have to have a good process, like maybe in the washroom, OTP generated feedback, something like that. So we have to measure the data which we are not measuring before, and then try to stitch it with the incentives. That's what I think will be the differentiation factor in the future.
All right. So if we stick to the housekeeping example.
Yes.
In bathrooms, would it not be more appropriate to hold customer focus groups asking them how they feel about the bathrooms in a particular shopping center? And in respect to the actual cleanliness standards in the shopping center, have microbiological swab tests and visual management checks so that the data is accumulated accordingly?
Yes, of course. So the first question is, I'm going to mention that in the coming part of the presentation.
Okay.
I think what you make makes a lot of sense, but again, we need to see the competency and the training and all that, right? So it's good we collect as much data as possible, but not too much data. It should be very easy. It should be easy to collect, and then easy to convert into analytics. Yeah. So we are working with not a very highly qualified staff, right? So we know the limitations, though. So the more simple the data collection mechanisms, the better it is. So let's look at delegation. You know what is delegation? You transfer the authority and the responsibility of the task to individuals or the team. So you know the benefits of the delegation is the top management gets better time to work on difficult issues or improvements. Let's look at what I'm talking now. This is for the marketing. We go in deep in this particular compensation, and then later we just run through them. So what is price delegation? So this is similar, like how you delegate a task. So you delegate the price to your marketing team. So what happens, the pricing authority goes from the top management to your executive. So the lowest guy is deciding the price of your hoarding or anything, any sort of marketing asset. So he decides the price. So when do you do that? When do you do delegation is when you have a complex selling environment, when spot decisions have to be taken, or you have to customize something for the customer, where customization is needed, or in the automobile like trade-ins. So just an example, the hoarding cost is 100 rupees. So the commission you have agreed is 10 rupees, let us assume. And then the executive's sale is 5 hoardings in the month. So the commission he's earning is 50 rupees. So it's very simple math. So let us see how we pay the commission in this. I will throw 3 scenarios for you. So one is a scenario where you say 100 rupees is the hoarding cost, 90 rupees is the floor price. All the 3 scenarios, let us assume the floor price is 90 rupees, you can't go below 90 rupees. So 100 rupees is the hoarding cost. You sell at 100, I pay you 10%. You sell at 95, I pay you 3%. So that's one way. You try to control the price a little. Let's look at scenario 2. the floor price is 90, the MRP is 100. You sell at whatever rate you want, just pay me the floor price. So we are not bothered if he's selling at 95 and taking the 5 rupees. We are not bothered if he's selling at 100 and taking the 10 rupees. So most of the times what we do is we pay commission on the transaction base. So X customer comes to you, you say, sir, the hoarding is 100 rupees, I'll give you at 95, and it closes there. He goes to the second transaction. So the commission is paid on the single deal, right? That's how most of them operate, even in the real estate. So what we are doing now is, in my research, is cumulative commissions, right? I'll just show you. So the cumulative commission is, you sell 4 hoardings, the commission earned is 40 rupees, okay? Then how you delegate the price is, for example, first hoarding you sell at MRP, you get 10%. Second you sell at MRP, you get 10%. So you have 20 rupees in your pocket. So the third hoarding, so you can shell out the whole 30 rupees on the third hoarding. So he has a broader price delegation. So he has a lot of freedom. So he can use the cumulative commission, the whole commission, wherever he wants. So that's given tremendous results, we'll discuss later. So that's what I'm working now, and that is, so we have done in one district in Andhra with 70,000 sales transactions, 38,000 in the, 33,000 in the control group and 38,000 in the intervention group. So the results are very good. If this is little confusing, I'll come to the concept, the underlying concept of this in the next slide. So what happens here is, with this, for example, if you're giving a cumulative commission and the price delegation to the marketing staff, let us assume you're giving it. So the employee has higher autonomy. So what we have understood after 3.5 years, why this works is, especially post-COVID, the employees want freedom. So for example, if you see the Swiggy riders and the Zomato riders and the Uber and the Ola, right? So the kind of drivers after the Uber and Ola has come has boomed. I was reading an article, I think it's 900% or something. So everyone who is not a driver is driving the car is because he has the freedom. So it's a on-demand job. If you want, you do, right? Otherwise, you just switch off the phone and sit at home, right? And you can do it whatever time you want. You want to do in the night when there is no traffic. So the key is freedom. So now if we can give that freedom to the employee in their working environment, so the results are very good. And second most important thing is, what we are doing is, in this particular experiment, yes, please.
Gopal, I can imagine that the reason why the room is so quiet is they're in shock.
Okay.
We're going to give our staff freedom to negotiate contracts. Yeah, that's what he's suggesting. There must be some rules.
Yeah.
What are you also, and remember, we're looking at this for the future. To what extent are rules needed? Is a mandate needed? And what are your recommendations?
Yes, I'll finish this and I'll get there. So what is the most important aspect is the firm is moving out of the pricing. So you know the kind of time you guys spend on the pricing. So, and then what this triggers is, the most important thing is, the way they behave when they are, when the discount is going out from their pocket is very different, right? So the employee can keep the whole 10%. So when he's discounting, the money is going out from his pocket. It's like business. It's like a small SBU you're giving in his hand. So the way they work, the way they approach the customer is very different when the discount is going out from his pocket. So that changes the game. Like Jonathan has asked, so in the price delegation, you have low, medium, and high. To start with, when you want to launch the scheme, it's better you go with the low and medium. So it depends on the price elasticity of your product, right? So based on the supply demand. So with high demand, you increase the price, low demand, you decrease the price. So that is also one of the factors to decide. But generally, in a shopping mall environment, we're looking at a 20% as a medium ballpark figure. So the hoarding is 100 rupees, 20% is the price delegation range which the employee can play, or he can put the 20% in his pocket. So that's how it works. So for example, we are doing an automobile dealership. The dealer earns a 3.5% margin on the product. So we have let them give 3% price delegation. That's very high. So it's like if the hoarding is 100 rupees, 50 rupees he can price delegate. So to start with, you can start with medium, and then you can go higher on this. So this is for the admin and billing. So generally the quota bonus is on the collection for the admin and billing. And then you need to see where you can give them freedom. So you have to, that's why I said it's not one size fits all. You have to brainstorm, you have to see where you can give them the freedom in collection. So I was just thinking before I made the presentation where we can give freedom for the billing guys. So maybe maybe if you're paying commission, they will come out with a scheme telling that, sir, we collect 3 months rent in advance. So you are paying me X commission, I will shell out Y commission to the retailer. So we don't know unless we start doing, we have to figure these things out. So this is for the housekeeping, there is no quota bonus for the housekeeping. And then this is for the leasing. And see, if it's confusing, I can just make a single page note of the presentation or a 2-page note and send it across to all of you. Yes?
I think the essence of any incentive program has to be simplicity, not least of all in this room, most particularly for the staff members involved. It has to be crisp, easily understood, and managers have to follow that through. Would you agree?
Yes, that's what I had shown in the rules, the Akshay Kumar slide, right? So it has to be as simple, as measurable as possible. So this is, see, what I have proposed is the choice, right? You can pick what you want, you can leave what you want. I'm just dumping the whole set of possible incentives you can pay, right? So yes, let's look at, does paying good incentives solve all the problems? That's the one question a lot of people ask me. So the Harvard University, they had made a study on the warehouse workers. So what they've done is they paid $1 more than the benchmark pay. So their retention went up by 2.8%. They paid $1 more, the retention went up by 2.8%. They paid $1 less, so the iteration is 28%. So it's like happy customer and unhappy customer, right? Happy customer don't talk much, unhappy customer makes a lot of noise. So you pay $1 more, and that's one thing. And then there's an online survey which was conducted by around 4 lakhs employees. This is quite interesting for us to understand. So 57% of the people who are paid at the market rate believe they are underpaid. And 42% of the people who are paid above the market rate, they also believe they are underpaid, right? This is quite fascinating for me also. Then the employees who feel they are underpaid, there is a 50% chance they leave, okay? So how do you solve this problem? So I was also talking with my team, I was talking with some of my colleagues. They said, if you are underpaying, forget. Let's not do any activity with the employees. If you're paying to the market rate, or if you're paying more than market rate, one of the solutions is you have a employee fare. You just have a walk-in, you have full strength, but still you have a employee fare kind of a thing. For example, you have a fare and you call the housekeeping employees. You make the TL take the first round, and then he will figure out the salary, and then it just spreads. You don't have to tell anything. So it's an indirect communication. When you are confident you're paying above the market rate, a lot of ways you have to communicate to the employee, yes, you're paid really well, so that they stay with you, okay? So the communicating, the way you pay is very important. And then what else? So we have talked about freedom as a very important point in their work environment. And then communicating what you're paying as the second. And let's see what else is there. It's a short video, so.
பொழுதொரு வண்ணம் என் மகன் வளருகிறான் உள்ளங்களிலே இன்பம் பெருகிட மனதில் நிறைகின்றான் மனதில் நிறைகின்றான் தாயும் தந்தையும் விரும்புவதெல்லாம் ஒன்னேதானுங்க ஐயா ஒன்னேதானுங்க கண்ணுக்கு கண்ணான தான் பெத்த பிள்ளை துள்ளி விளையாடியே மனதை மகிழ செய்யணுங்க மகிழ செய்யணுங்க மகிழ செய்யணுங்க தெய்வம் தந்த செல்வமையா நான் பெற்ற செல்வமையா ஆரோக்கியமும் அறிவும் பெற்று வளர்ந்துட்டானையா மனம் மகிழ்ந்தோம் ஐயா நாமே மனம் மகிழ்ந்தோம் ஐயா இந்த மகிழ்ச்சியின் வேதனை எதுவும் மறந்திடும் ஐயா ஐயா நாளொரு மேனியும் பொழுதொரு வண்ணம் என் மகன் வளருகிறான் உள்ளங்களிலே இன்பம் பெருகிட மனதில் நிறைகின்றான் மனதில் நிறைகின்றான்
मेरा बच्चा 5 साल का हो गया।
इतना सब 5 साल में कौन सी बड़ी बात है?
बड़ी बात है मैडम, ये गुंडापा का पहला बच्चा है जो 5 साल की उम्र तक पहुंचा है।
क्या?
What a great advert. And thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah. So if you look at what Lifebuoy has done, right? So it is telling its employees, we're saving the life of children. That's the purpose of Lifebuoy. You would have seen the videos, few of you would have seen it. It changes the game, right? So the way the employees work is different. I will share my mall's purpose statement so that you understand. And don't worry, it's not a strategy session. We stitch the purpose with the incentives in the end. So purpose is explaining what the company's motivation and the reasons for being. So let us say if it's a mall, for example. What is the purpose of the mall? Is maybe bringing family together in a safe environment is a purpose, right? And creating happiness in the families is a purpose. So you have to figure out your purpose. Okay, I figured out mine. I'll show it to you. And then you know what is the mission, is the existing excellence you want to reach in your working environment is a mission. And the vision is where you want to go, right? So the purpose is a totally different concept. I'm sure some of you are, so when I speak, most of them have a purpose. Even I have a purpose. I have not implemented it in a full-fledged. After 7 years of mall operations, what I am done is I have hired a consultant to do that. It's hard to get in the purpose in the minds of all the employees. I've hired a consultant, like what Jonathan said. So he's given one suggestion, for example, just a 2-minute share. So what is done is every floor in the mall, so they're making floor owners. So all the low-level staff, so one is from housekeeping, one is from technical, one is from security, like that. So every floor will have 5 to 6 owners. So their job is to make sure that floor is a spick and span. Everything, HVAC, painting, toilets, so they own the floor. So, I'll go to my purpose statement so you understand what I mean. So there's a little bit data on the purpose, like that's what I said, like the freedom in the recent past, why it's playing a major part in incentives. Like if you see, the purpose is the quiet quitting, the moonlighting, the double job, morning in the mall and night as a Uber driver, and then the great resignation. So when the survey was done by McKinsey with 1,000 participants in the US, 82% tell that purpose is very important. So they want satisfaction. They want a purpose to work. Like maybe what the Lifebuoy employees will feel. They're saving the life of a lot of children and a lot of others also. So this is my website. So the purpose of my mall is to make every day extraordinary for my customer. Right? So when this goes, into the heart and soul of all the employees. So for example, my housekeeping staff, they are dedicated to make every day extraordinary for my customer. Security staff, they want to make every day extraordinary for the customer. Parking staff, they want to make every day extraordinary. If you can relate, I see many times, we make a lot of investment in the business, and a 5-star hotel makes a lot of investment in the business. The way a security guard or a parking guy or a housekeeping staff behaves in a 5-star hotel is quite different to what we do. You can say, Gopal, maybe we have 100 times more walk-ins than a 5-star hotel, but still, I have inquired in few locations, we are paying close to what a 5-star hotel is paying. A lot of interns work there. So the average cost of salary for a mall and for a 5-star hotel maybe should be the same, at least in the lower and middle management areas. So we should see how our guys behave close to as courteous as employees in the 5-star hotel. Then you can say, Gopal, you made a nice presentation. You have put your website. You can just see this. We inaugurated the mall in June 24, 2016. So I wrote my purpose statement, and it's there on the hoarding, 6th June 2016. Right? As I said, I wrote my purpose before I opened the mall. So hope all of the top management here have a good purpose statement and try to make sure it really talks with your employees. Now, next we go to the important part. So Gopal, you're talking about purpose, you're talking about incentives. So how do we, as I said, how do we bring them together? So purpose sits in the process. So we have to have a process which enables some kind of, your purpose should go into the process. Like I said, what we are doing is we are having floor owners opening the mall, the floor owners open the mall, the floor owners close the mall. So we try to get the purpose into the process. Then what happens through that is generally, what is intrinsic and extrinsic value, or intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So extrinsic is only money, what you pay. Intrinsic is something like job satisfaction. So a good example is we just hang out with friends, we are happy, right? So that is increasing the intrinsic value. So what we do is by getting yes, Jonathan.
Forgive me, I'm sure everybody's fascinated, and thank you, Gopal. We must start wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm done.
And at this juncture, I'd like everybody to arm their pens and their hands and be ready to put up their hand for some questions. We've got about 15 minutes with you.
No, I'll be done in 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes.
Thank you.
So what we try to do is we try to take their whatever is the mindset and the way they work from 100%, see most of them work for what you pay, incentives, right? So from 100% extrinsic, so we try to take them to 50% intrinsic and 50% extrinsic. So 50% is purpose or the job satisfaction or whatever it is, and the 50% is the cash you pay. So that's what should create the satisfaction to them. So this is what Harvard has suggested in all the comments in the monograph I've given you, why incentive don't work. So in every paper they give, it has to be a holistic process. The incentive has to be holistic, not just the cash. So, okay. So what, this is interesting, but just see. So what enhances the intrinsic value is, the number one is psychological safety for the employee. You should be, most of you should be knowing what psychological safety, it's like how kids feel with parents. So psychological safety is, they're not scared to take risk. They're not scared to question your decision, the top management decision. So that is psychological safety. Purpose, vision, mission comes next, the prestige. So it's, I've ranked it from top to bottom. Let's look at the last one. Okay, so we have a meeting, and most of the times we decide how to motivate the employees, incentive and the next part. So when you see the least important for an employee is, for example, allowance. You say, let's give clothing allowance, let's give a housing allowance. So let's say we pay the house rent, or we subsidized meal. So to be really frank, when you want to up the intrinsic value of the employee, this is the least. So you're in the bottom of the pyramid with these, like government scheme, right? So they take everything for free and they vote to someone else. So we don't know why they vote. Maybe this is what is missing in the voters with the party. Yes, I think, Jonathan, I'm wrapping up, and then just a small video. So what I have proposed in this presentation is, there is a proposed compensation, and we need to look at freedom, purpose, and then a bench program. I will talk about it. So these three things, if you include in your incentive, this is what will moderate the incentive effect. It has a greater effect. It's a long-term plan, so it has a greater effect. You all should have an eye on this. So when you implement is up to you, but this is what my 3.5 years of working on the incentives has, I understood. This is what I understood. Yes, then you might ask me, what is the bench program? So let's take a question, like for example, you have a meeting with your team, like customer care executive you have. So you tell him, your target is 90% CSI, satisfied customers. But how many of you are telling him, if your CSI is less than 70%, I'm going to punish you? We're not doing it. I'm not doing it. So I think I should start somewhere. So it's very important. The threat of punishment is very, very important in the business today. The problem is we are scared of replacement, quality of replacement, or the cost incurred in the replacement. But it's better you incur that cost than to have a low performing guy in your business. It's very important. And generally how the bench program works is, the best is on the ranking mechanism. For example, let's take a housekeeping staff, you rank them. Attendance, 10 points, checklists and whatever, 10 points, and then the job done on time, 10 points. So just make a point system and then rank, and then the threat is to the bottom two guys. And you fix a minimum 70-point measure. So what happens is, the funny thing is, everyone wants to enter the 70 point, at least to keep the job. So you ensure there is a desired level of workmanship through this bench program. And again, there's a research done, when the bench program is in full effect, the results are very good. So the last, the laggers performs better than the high performers, the growth in their performance. And small point, 80% of the firm changes the compensation plan every 2 years. So some thoughts on changing the plan is, you can have sales contests. Timing is very important. A quarterly sales contest, if it is marketing, quarterly sales contest is the best. You have a yearly sales contest, they feel it is too far away. And then reward should be, I mean, what the research says is equal to your salary. So you have a 3-month sales contest, his salary is 10K, his reward should be 30K. That's what really makes him, go after the target. And then the gift, so you just keep, changing it with small things. Yes, the last part of the presentation, he's Raman. He's my professor at Harvard Business School. So I used to get very fascinated with his classes always. So on the last day, we have to book an appointment. I booked an appointment and I went and asked him, Prof, how can you engage? It's unimaginable engagement you have with the students. How can you do it? First question. The second question I asked him is, how are you so passionate? Why are not all other professors so passionate? And then he told me a couple of things. He said, Gopal, Harvard Business School gives me the freedom to do what I want. First thing. They're just bother about your feedback. So we have to give a feedback after the strategy, the whole session is over. So as long as your feedback is good, I can do whatever I want. And then he said, Gopal, I have a purpose. The purpose is making leaders to great leaders. So that's my purpose. I never understood what this freedom and purpose is. Now I am able to figure out what he said 7-8 years back. So I have videotaped his class, okay? And then I have asked it permission to use it in the future. So it's, I'm able to use it nowadays. So I'll just show a 20-second clip of his class.
Traditional circus, but this clearly is not traditional circus. So they have kept some elements from So they have kept some elements from traditional circus, but Cirque du Soleil is not traditional circus. Cirque du Soleil has kept elements from theater, but not theater, elements of opera, but not opera, elements of Broadway, elements of pop music, but not pop music, magic, but not magic, gymnastics, not gymnastics, movie, not movie, Chinese acrobat, not Chinese acrobat, cabaret, not cabaret, whatever it is, they have kept elements from all of these other forms of entertainment, but it's not like by any one of them creating something unique which sets them aside from the competition. Okay?
So that's it. I end my presentation. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Gopal, you're not going anywhere because I know that there must be lots of questions. I'm just going to do a simple little kinesthetic exercise. See, arm down, arm up, arm down, arm up, and there we go. Yes, sir. There we go.
Gopal, first of all, thank you for the lovely summation of so many years of hard work that you have presented.
Thank you.
Two keywords that I am actually focusing on is freedom and purpose. Now, purpose, as we all know, is organizational, which you have put for your organization, and then there is a individual purpose, and often they do not exactly are congruent. It's not an overlap of one circle over the other. So, don't you think that sometimes it is the individual purpose, or let's say it's the organizational purpose, which doesn't let an individual to fully realize their individual purposes and in a way lose the freedom that you're talking about?
Yes. See, to be frank, I totally agree with you. That's what I said. I'm trying to we try to implement the purpose as I desire. So it's a long-term process. So that's why I hired a consultant who has done it. I think he's done it with the Reddy Labs. I was quite fascinated with the way they have done it. I think Danaher does it, the US-based company. So it takes time, to figure out, because all these small things, what is the purpose of the company, what is the purpose of the employee, and how you get it together, align all these things. It takes some time. I think you for initially to start with, you need a specialist in that. That's what I have figured out. Like most of the areas, like you have mall management agencies, you have services management. So the best way to go in that direction is, I feel you need to have a specialist who has done it, and then so a lot of things changes as we take it down. So I think few things, the purpose stays like that. So I think we need to make small tweaks and then try to align the individual purpose with the organization purpose, and how much closely, so we can't match it 100%, right? Like the incentives also, what I pay here, you can't pay in Delhi. So you can't match it 100%, but I think you come to a place where everyone is in good terms with the purpose concept. So I think that's the solution.
See, the other question I had was that, this incentive scheme is primarily for the employees. From my earlier experiences, mall management is obviously pretty new for me, so I'm still learning. The nomadic tribe in terms of the workers is growing. So you have more and more gig workers who are coming up.
More and more?
Gig workers. They refuse to be tied down to an organization.
Yes.
They're only working on contract basis or for a particular assignment.
Yes.
How do you design a plan, which could be called anything, an incentive plan, a purpose plan, to get those workers in? As an example, out of the 18,000 employees that we hired, I won't name the organization, during COVID, 1,500 were gig workers, which is basically 8% of the total hires.
You mean to say contract workers?
Contract workers.
Yes.
They came together only for an assignment, did that, and then moved, either continued to work or moved away. So while in malls, some of the basic work will probably never move to a gig worker, like a property management or engineering task, or other things. But some of the more creative sides of it, like marketing, digital program, or leasing, that is also something that a lot of commission-based agents do. So how do you really differentiate, or let's say, what does your study or various surveys that you have quoted, do they have a pointer towards that coming economy or that structure of the economy?
Yeah, see, really I've not seen, because it's a vast subject, I've not looked into the contract workers and how to align the contract workers with your organization's objectives. But still, there are a lot of mechanisms, even though you can pay incentives to the contract workers. That's what I mean to say. See, as I spoke about on-demand jobs, like the Swiggy and the Zomato, so they're not, I'm sure they're not full-time workers sitting in the, Uber office. So, but just see how with a single app, they are able to drive the behavior. If you remember in the past, if you take a taxi, you know what they do? They tell 800, waiting, distance, and then, so there is no, they don't respect you. But just an app, the Uber driver, he's so well behaved. So I think it is possible. I think we need to figure out ways and maybe use of technology to get the desired behavior in the contract workers. That's what maybe is the answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, further? Yes, at the back, please.
Hi, Gopalji. I am more interested in understanding, since there was a hierarchy which you showed on incentives where there were security, motivations, and other self-actualizations and other concepts. My understanding would be that the goalposts have shifted, where we are not seeing employees as just employees, but there is a bigger role where they are playing as entrepreneurs and residents, which is an interesting word. And do you think that we millennials or the Gen Z are looking into the concept of having more responsibilities and having the freedom, just like the passionate Harvard professor was showcasing? So do you think that dynamics have also changed in terms of how employees are seeing themselves now and associating with shopping centers and others?
I didn't get the question right, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm interested whether the employees which we are hiring or the contracting employees which we are looking forward to, are they thinking more into the dynamics there where they have growth and more decision-making power just monetary incentives is not enough for them?
Exactly, exactly. So they're looking at more freedom in the workspace. They're looking at more purpose in the workplace. And the communication on the way we pay above the market rate, that is also important. Yes, exactly. Now the trend is the more freedom they have in their workspace, and it gives a lot of benefits. So I'm doing in a second district now with my research. Exact results. I am 70% through. The moment we give them cumulative commissions and the kind of, we start with just the commission, conditional commission, and then the full throttle cumulative commission. It's exactly the same. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't know, I can compare it like this or not. You give a banana to the monkey, what it reacts, exactly the same thing is happening. The moment they're given with more freedom, it's like boom. There are a lot of good things which are happening. And what we have seen, to answer your question, to be precise, so the people with minimum 3 years work experience in the field, they are able to take the best advantage of the freedom. So that's also important to understand. Yes, to answer your questions to the point, they want freedom and they want a purposeful job. Yes.
Thank you. Further questions? All right, so as I trottle up to the podium, Gopal, I'm thinking to myself, there are two questions in my mind that I'm sure are on the lips of everybody here. And they really are quite obvious, certainly to me. And they affect us as employers and they affect us as managers. I'll start with the second question. It's a little easier maybe to answer. Almost PhD, almost Dr. Gopal, which of the incentives that you've indicated here so eloquently today, which of them work best?
I can't answer that because it depends again. So revenue generators are different, non-revenue generators are different. And then the maturity of the team plays a role. So it's like when you build a mall, you figure out your tenant mix. So you figure out your catchment area. So how you figure out your catchment area is the kind of brands you bring in. You get a hypermart, your catchment area is a little bit bigger. I mean, the spread is bigger. So like that, it's you have to customize it on your own. The kind of expertise the malls have today, it's very easy to figure out. It's not a big thing. So I have, like I said, I will make it in a couple of sheets and maybe mail to all of you if you want. So there are n number of incentives you can pay. So I have cherry-picked what is relevant to the mall business, and then I have proposed. Maybe other things also you can do it. It's a trial and error basis. So what works best is, I mean, it's a difficult question.
Can I make a suggestion?
Huh?
What works best? My suggestion.
What to expect?
No, my suggestion, well, my suggestion in respect to what works best from an incentivization point of view. I offer just two things. Keep it simple.
Exactly.
And pay the incentives that you've promised your staff you will pay on time.
Exactly.
All right. And my second question,
yes,
probably the most profound, and nobody in the room has asked, so I'm going to ask it. If you were to stand on one leg, just one leg, can you answer the eternal question that affects us here in India? And that is, how do we keep staff? How do we reduce?
No, how to keep staff?
How do we keep staff?
How to retain them?
How to retain staff?
Yeah, see, like I said, incentive plays a great part. And again, like I said, it depends on your business environment. So there are a lot of job opportunities. You just pay them a really good salary to keep them. So I have given everything in the presentation. If there is a lot of competition for that particular position, you pay them good salaries, 15, 20, 25, 30% more than the market. You have no other choice. Maybe the people with you, you can drive them with a lot of these things I have told you, which really makes sense to them. The purpose, and then the sense of belonging to the company, and maybe that's what will stick them together. So my mall retention is very good. So maybe from the day we opened, I think we are above 96%. Yeah, I think this is what I can give as an answer.
Good. Much. Oops. Good. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Gopal, I think you've enthralled us today. Wait. You can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. You've enthralled us today. I think that in listening to your wise words about incentivization and how to pay, I think that it begs just a couple of perspectives. And remember that we're looking at this obviously from a future perspective. Where is this small industry going to be in a few years' time? And is this industry going to be relevant? And is this industry going to be successful? So I'm thinking that all people are the same all over the world. And having had the privilege of working in East Africa, Southern Africa, and in India, I reckon that's about right. And what motivates us? Well, the interesting thing is that it isn't only pay. It's a lot of other things. It's the smile on your face when you walk in the morning. It's the fact that you've got nice working conditions, that the boss will listen to the juniors, all of those sorts of things. And maybe a profound statement about rate of pay and incentivization is that mall management is all about the people, and that the staff, our staff, are also our customers, right? So if we treat people well, whether they are staff or whether they are customers, isn't that a good start? Gopal, thank you very, very much for your presentation. I think we all learned a great deal, ladies and gentlemen.